Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the chilling world of the bamboo torture myth, a narrative that has captivated and horrified audiences for generations. The concept is brutally simple, yet diabolically clever. A victim is taken, restrained, and suspended or tied down over a patch of freshly cut, sharpened bamboo. These are not just any plants. They are young, vigorous shoots of a species known for its astonishing growth rate, a botanical marvel turned into a biological weapon. In this dark scenario, the captors need not lift another finger. They simply have to wait, letting nature serve as the executioner. The bamboo, following its innate drive to reach for the sun, continues its ascent, its sharpened tip pressing against the victim's flesh. What begins as a minor discomfort soon escalates into a piercing agony as the shoot, hard as steel, inexorably pushes its way into the body. The legend of this torture method has been most prominently attached to ancient Asia, a vast and often mysterious continent in the eyes of the West, where such exotic cruelties were imagined to be commonplace. It was also famously attributed to Japanese soldiers during World War II, a period rife with documented atrocities, which made the addition of this particularly gruesome technique seem entirely plausible to a horrified public. The accounts, though often third-hand and lacking specific details, painted a terrifying picture. Prisoners of war, Allied soldiers and local dissidents were said to have met their end in this agonizing manner, their bodies slowly impaled by the very ground they stood on. The psychological torment of this process is almost impossible to comprehend. The victim is fully aware, watching and feeling their own slow, methodical impalement, unable to move, unable to stop the inevitable. It was a death that unfolded not in minutes, but over the course of days. The scientific basis for the myth is alarmingly sound, which is precisely what lends it so much credibility. Certain species of bamboo are among the fastest growing plants on the planet. Under optimal conditions, with the right combination of heat, humidity, and nutrients, a bamboo shoot can grow at a truly astonishing rate. Some varieties have been recorded growing up to 3 feet, or nearly 1 meter, in a single 24-hour period. This is not a slow, meandering growth. It is a powerful, relentless surge of life. The young shoots are also incredibly strong and sharp, capable of pushing through packed soil, asphalt, and even concrete. The idea that they could penetrate human flesh is not just believable. It is a virtual certainty. The plant's biological imperative becomes the mechanism of death, a natural process perverted into an instrument of torture. The narrative paints a truly horrific scene. As the hours pass, the sharpened point of the bamboo shoot would first break the skin. The pain would be sharp, but this is only the beginning. With each passing hour, the shoot pushes deeper, its unyielding pressure a constant source of agony. It would not be a clean wound like one from a knife. The bamboo would slowly tear through muscle, scrape against bone, and eventually invade the vital organs within the torso. The victim, tied down and unable to escape, would be forced to endure every excruciating millimeter of the plant's progress. Death would not come quickly. It would be a slow, agonizing process, likely resulting from internal bleeding, organ failure, or the onset of a massive infection from the unsterile plant material being forced deep within the body cavity. The slowness of it is the key to its horror. It is a death that grants its victim far too much time to contemplate their fate. Despite the vivid and terrifying nature of these accounts, and the biological plausibility of the method, concrete historical evidence remains remarkably elusive and is widely disputed by historians and scholars. While many forms of torture from the ancient and modern worlds are well documented with detailed records, illustrations, and surviving instruments, bamboo torture exists almost exclusively in anecdotal accounts, rumors, and popular fiction. There are no official military records from any nation that describe its systematic use. There are no surviving legal texts from ancient Asian dynasties that prescribe it as a form of punishment. Historians who have scoured archives and first-hand accounts from World War II have found no verifiable, corroborated instances of this specific torture method being used by Japanese forces, despite the prevalence of other brutal practices. The absence of primary evidence is conspicuous, suggesting that this tale, however compelling, might not have the historical foundation we assume it does. The story's endurance and widespread acceptance can be largely attributed to its popularization in Western media, particularly during the 20th century. It began to appear in adventure magazines, sensationalist true story publications, and eventually, in films and television. These depictions cemented the image of bamboo torture in the public consciousness, presenting it as a documented fact of Asian and wartime cruelty. It fit neatly into existing stereotypes and provided a uniquely cinematic and gruesome spectacle. Once it entered the realm of popular culture, the story took on a life of its own, repeated so often that it became accepted as truth. The narrative served a purpose, reinforcing a particular view of the enemy as both cunning and barbaric, capable of devising tortures that were as intellectually creative as they were physically monstrous. In a famous episode of the television show MythBusters, the team decided to put this legend to the test. They sought to determine if bamboo could, in fact, grow through a human body. Using a ballistic gelatin torso, which is calibrated to simulate the density and resistance of human flesh, they set up the classic scenario. They placed the torso over a patch of young growing bamboo and waited. The result was a chilling validation of the myth's mechanical feasibility. The bamboo shoots grew with such force that they punched cleanly through the gelatin torso, emerging from the other side. The experiment proved, without a doubt, that the physical process was possible. A plant could indeed be used to impale a person. However, the MythBusters team was careful to note that their experiment only confirmed the method's possibility, not its historical use. They had proven that it could happen, but the question of whether it did happen remained unanswered. This highlights a crucial aspect of why this story is so powerful. The psychological terror it evokes is just as potent, if not more so, than the physical pain it describes. The very idea of being killed by a growing plant is deeply unsettling. It subverts our understanding of the natural world, turning a symbol of life and growth into a harbinger of death. Unlike a guillotine or a firing squad, which are swift and mechanical, bamboo torture represents a slow, organic, and inescapable doom. The victim is not just being killed, they are being consumed by nature. This element of psychological horror, the helplessness, the anticipation, the slow-motion dread is what allows the legend to thrive. The fear it generates is real, regardless of whether the events it describes ever took place on a wide scale. It taps into a primal fear of being powerless against a relentless, unthinking force. Ultimately, the tale of bamboo torture appears to be more myth than a documented historical fact. While it is physically possible, and while it may have been attempted on a small, undocumented scale at some point in history, there is no credible, widespread evidence to support its use as a systematic method of torture or execution in the way that other methods are. Its story is a powerful example of how legends are born and sustained. It combines a plausible scientific premise with a deep-seated psychological fear and attaches it to historical contexts already laden with violence and cruelty. The legend endures not because of the evidence supporting it, but because of the chilling perfection of the horror it describes. It is a story that, once heard, is impossible to forget, a testament to the dark creativity of the human imagination and our enduring fascination with the macabre. And in the end, it is this power, the power of a story to embed itself in our minds, that ensures that bamboo shoots will continue to grow in the dark forests of our fears for a long, long time.